Welcome back, fellas, into this new video of TechExpress. Today, let's talk a little bit more about the basics of Notion. Everything in Notion is a blog, right? So to get started, usually we want to get started with a new account. There's an actual full tutorial into how we can actually get started for beginners, how we create an actual account, to make this process much more faster. But for those who already know and already have an actual Notion account and they don't know how to get started, we are into the right place. Now, basically here, usually to get started, we do have an actual new file like this, a new page, you might be saying here. Now, everything in Notion, as I just tell you, is an actual block. If you type this code, which is the // you can see the toolkit, right? You can tell to see like this. You can tell to see your toolkit. You can see text, you can see images, the new AI layout. Blocks are your building blocks. So here's the Notion AI. You can say, for example, ask a question. Ask me anything and try to find an answer in pages and connect apps to you, whatever. Let's say, how do I get started in Notion? Now, layout is one of the amazing thing here into Notion, because what you can do is to drag any block to the right of another to create some columns, for example. Now, nowadays, for example, Notion now has a small guide so that snap your layout into professional grids automatically, and you don't have to do so much more of that. So what I'm going to do here is to focus, for example, into a private element that I have just edited correctly inside there. When I select one stuff, I can just change it automatically and I can move from one into another. So for example, getting started on YouTube, right? And I can go and add a new bar. Here's my text, how to get started. And down here, I can add a new image really fast. And here it is, media, upload my file. I can add, for example, this logo, and I can make it a little bit smaller, right? So there we go. Now, what I wanted to do is, for example, I wanted of course to focus and forget the sidebar mess, because the home type is now your missing control. This pulls my task from every database into the workspace, so we never lose a to-do item again. So let's focus, for example, with the new databases. Now, databases are just a collection of pages. The big update is that they are multi-source views. You can now see, for example, that your project task and your personal calendar are inside the same database, blocking the actual user. Now, into the upper left corner, we have the home dashboard, where you can see everything about the recently visited, about how to learn to customize your style into the content, a guide of Notion templates, getting started with price and task. You can have, for example, more elements about the keyboard shortcut, underneath, type of content blocks. And down here, for example, are my upcoming events. Depends into if I have connected Notion with my Google Calendar or so. Then here, for example, I have more home views, and the databases will be clicky accessible for my home. For example, wake up and freshen up, have breakfast, work and study, have lunch, exercise, whatever. And here are some featured templates that we can use to get started. Now, you wanted to check this out. I can set a trigger so that when a status change to done, Notion automatically sends a summary to Slack and move the file to archive the folder. If you don't know how to do this, for example, let's say that I get started here directly from the element that says get started. Creation of a calendar. Now here, let's say, for example, that I wanted to ask a question. Let's say I wanted to add a trigger so that when a status changes to done, you will automatically send a Google Calendar event and move the file to the archive folder. And what's going to happen is that the AI will analyze your database, will analyze basically your needs, and make the actual creation out of it. So something else, for example, that speaking about now the Notion AI, because this is the master part. Notion AI is no longer a chatbot because it was before. It's now an agent, you might say. So usually, for example, you can tell the agent my goal or our goals, and it doesn't just give you advice. It builds the databases, setups the properties, and even they populates with the actual sample data. What we just did here, as I just told you, is to try to creating some elements that can be connected to my Google Calendar from Notion, and we don't have to do so much though. Now there are more elements that we can use to get started, which are some templates. So when you hit for the option that says add template, you can see that here create empty pages, empty databases, build with artificial intelligence, some asset library, a task tracker, projects, document hub, brainstorm sessions, and there's so much more templates that we can use them to get started. You can build autonomous agents. For example, I have an inbox hero agent. It tracks my Notion mail, drop replies, flags urgent task without me touching an actual button. Basically, that's how the actual Notion works for all of us. So you can now swap the brain of the Notion workspace. You can use the Cloudy for the creative writing and Gemini for heavy data analysis, all within the actual same page, right? So what I'm going to do here is just to delete these response because it might be taking a little bit more time. I wanted to go for the option that says move to trash, and I have my actual private elements. So let's go for new document hub or a brainstorm session. I had for continue, top ideas, all ideas. Here I have my idea, created by priority catalog, total views uploaded for. So when I go here, for example, from this new chat, let's say, for example, I want to add a new trigger, a new element that helps me add stuff to my G calendar when I trigger done. And here's the A chat crafting, for example, element, right? So here's the search bar, found 10 results, how we can actually use them to get started. Now Notion Mail, for example, is now fully integrated. You can turn any email into a Notion page or a task with just one click. And if you want to turn your page into a website, Notion sites now supports custom domains and the CEO tools that rival Squarespace, and just hit into publish, for example, and you're just good to go. And if Notion cannot do the tasks that you added, usually it gives you elements of how we can actually use it to get started. For example, the Notion calendar, a date property. So status property to done, add property like when or schedule. When you set done, since the database is connected to calendar, shows you calendar, here's the option B, right? It actually works really great. When you finish with those elements, for example, you can change it from the team spaces. You can just go and set them for the actual projects here. You can set up your goals trackers directly inside here. You can check out your actual meetings, which you can just add upcoming meetings. Here are all AI meeting notes. You can check them out really fast. And here's the Notion AI, which you can do so much more just by heading directly here into the chatbot, based into all the actual team space, applications, agents, brainstorm sessions, and pages that you have created so far with Notion. So you have gone from a blank page to a fully automated AI workspace. If you have any questions, you can let me know in the comments below. Don't forget, guys, to like, share, and subscribe to the channel if you want to see more great tools like this. Thank you so much for watching, and hopefully we can all see you next time.